Hello, and welcome to part 14 of West Goldfield in City Skylines II. Today we've got a lot to do, including fixing traffic so our ambulance services can work, and fixing traffic here, and actually also demolishing these buildings so that they can become new businesses. With that said, though, there is also immense demand with immense traffic. And the first pain point, I think, is probably going to be over here. And as we can see, people want to go straight and turn right, but they are currently unable to. So I think actually just putting a larger roundabout would solve the issue. People who want to go right, though, they seem to be unable to because there are people... I think this guy's trying to turn into somewhere, but he can't because there's a line of traffic here. So once these people clear out, I think the issue should resolve. With that said, pedestrians do seem to be a bit of an issue, considering that there is also a bus stop here. So, I think that, like I have done before, I will build a dedicated pedestrian crossing underground. Hopefully that is the problem solved. Now I did use a system of underground things, and then I built the road over it. Now, when you actually do a depth of like 5 meters or something else, you can usually build a lot of things over it, like I did here. Now it is a little like messed up, and I could do it a little better, but I'm really just not sure how. But without spending a ton of time on it. I think this should actually solve like a lot of our traffic issues because everyone does want to go this way, and now we're allowing them to. With that said, we do have a lot of money, which means we have a good amount to pay off of loans, and we can just pay off more loans. I am noticing a larger and larger amount of abandoned buildings, and I am not sure why. It doesn't say why either, but I guess we can just get rid of these and allow new ones to be built. Now I do just want to give the game a little time because we are waiting on money and waiting for things to settle in. With that said though, I think we might want to take that loan back out so we can afford this extension because that high school has already filled right back up. The elementary schools are holding up fine though. Even the backup over here has shrunk, and most of the traffic in this area is gone, and it was a simple solution of building an underground area for pedestrians to cross the road. Now you want to look into other problems, such as the healthcare. Now, we do have 2 buildings for healthcare, I believe. Oh no, we currently only have 1 over here, and this is just not suitable, presumably because of A, traffic, or B, not enough vehicles, which I don't think it's as much as not having enough vehicles, because not all the vehicles are being used. What is becoming an issue is death care. I'm seeing a few of those problems pop up, but I really think just fixing this traffic problem might be the solution that we needed. Looking towards this city, traffic is the issue, but I think the last people are finishing moving in, so problem should hopefully become solved soon. Again, though, we are using like all of our vehicles for healthcare, even from the small medical clinic. So in this area, it might actually be time to invest into a hospital. Now, the reason I say that is because it has a ton of ambulances and it has a lot of patient capacity. And again, as I've talked about before, this is a developing area. So I think we will just spend the research points to get a hospital. Maybe we can just look at where we would place it if we got one. Part of me says we should place it here because it is currently in the center, but it's not going to forever be in the center. So that's why I think it might actually make sense to build it somewhere like here, because we might eventually end up expanding the city to be on this side too, but that also might just be a completely separate district in itself. For now though, I think that when the traffic irons out, we won't need as many vehicles because vehicles will go and come back faster. So I think we will just wait for that to figure itself out. What I do want to do is at this point maybe look towards a new area to develop, such as over here. Because as I've talked about before, areas around lakes really do just naturally have higher land value, as we can see. Because of the highway and the noise pollution, it's gone down a little over here, but there's just immense land value. So, I think that this might be the next development hotspot, especially because we do have a highway that we can just take cars off of, allowing people to move in easier, and it is pretty central. Additionally, it does have access to a train, and is nearby enough that we can connect it to our current tram lines. Now, I don't want to take up a huge amount of space with a clover leaf, but I do know that eventually in the future I am going to want to build stuff over here. And definitely connect up these two highways, because we might actually be able to shrink our highways if we do that. And our intersections for sure. I do just want to check on our districts and see that and make sure that everything is in a zone. Because I really don't want people not inside of a zone because that could create various problems. Something else worth mentioning is that our tram depot is almost fully using every tram. We can also check on our bus depot, and we have shrunk down how many buses are being used. Now, just to mention, the reason that I am looking for a new area to develop is because there are growing problems here, all stemming from traffic, from people moving in. I do think that an additional option could just be to, like, take a highway off here. Or not a highway, but a main road off here, but I'm not sure if I really want to do that. Another note would be, we could take maybe a small road off here, like with a roundabout and the highway, and only temporarily bring it over. Which actually, I think that's what we might opt for, because that would just mean buying this one zoning tile and giving us the power to do what we want in the meantime. I was also to expand the farmland a little bit. And just as a small note, I will probably take this highway and just put it right into a main road. And then we can eventually also build the intersection. With that said though, I think it might in the future make sense to just raise all of this highway to be 10 meters off the ground, because it could also allow for the other highway to, or again, the main road to be an underpass. Because I don't really just want to like keep putting overpasses when it would probably just make sense to have the roads higher up. With that said though, I do predict that this area is going to be a much bigger area, and because it doesn't have highways running through it like this area does, it probably will make sense to have a 6-lane main road. I did also notice that was just unnecessary, that extra road, so I did just get rid of it. Probably also worth mentioning, I am aware this lane math does not work right now, but we will probably be able to fix it in the future. Something else I also just remembered is a feature in the game is actually like barriers. So I do want to add a few along this highway as often traffic does back up onto it. And I will also do the same to the other highway along here, but this time I'll only do it on one side. I'm not going to add them over here because this is offices and businesses, which I don't think are really as affected by noise. I will probably add them here too in the future, unless this becomes an elevated road. What I'm going to do now, though, is take off our small roads where houses are actually going to be placed along and bring them to the water. Now, I'll probably build a bunch of like high-density homes around this area as to maximize the amount of income we can get. With that said, though, this is probably like not a design I've ever done. I'm not sure why I'm trying it out right now, but I mean, I guess there's no reason to not. Something I do want to keep in mind is, like, what do I really want to build in this area? And I do want to point out that it's probably not necessary to build commercial over here, as once we connect this up to the main highway, it is going to be a very quick trip to go over here. Once the traffic is cleared here, turn left, and then have access to this full commercial area. With that said, though, while I'm in the area, I want to check on the schools to see if they are at capacity. Which they actually are, and surprisingly, it's the high schools that are at capacity. Something else I want to just touch on is the fact that our population is high enough, and I believe that we do have enough educated citizens, which is the people who would go to college, to actually build a college. Now the problem is, though, we don't really have the money. But I do think that it's something we should look towards doing in the near future. With that said, though, I am going to pay more of the loan off because I don't want to be paying interest rate. Right here, I will probably also just start zoning our high-density homes. But I do want to add another road here, and probably bring another one back here. I also don't think I'm going to do the circle on this side just because this is pretty close to the water. And I will also move the road to be like that and get rid of this. I'm really like second guessing this whole like layout, especially because it is going to end up being high density, so I think I will just get rid of it. I'm also second guessing if this is like the road hierarchy I really want, and if I really want a road to go down like that, or if I want one to be closer. And I think that I really am just gonna move this not small road, but this 4-lane road closer. I do think it makes sense if there are a few high-density homes along this too. I don't think that's super outrageous. I will also take a road off here. Something else I want to point out is that I will actually probably, instead of having businesses here, I might actually put offices here once we get high-density offices. Now this area is going to take a long time to actually make it a super dense area, mainly because high density, you place one building, it instantly just goes away. Something else I forgot is to account for water and electricity. The electricity problem is pretty easy to solve just by adding a few lights to these roads, and the water problem shouldn't be too difficult as we can just take the pipe right here and bring it down and connect it to the road. Now, I do want to continue to at least slowly build medium density in this area, just because I don't want to completely stop development here. Also, traffic here is cleared up, and I do also again want to just check on the schools, which are also, once again, full. I'm not sure why people are getting stuck in the high school, mainly because that's usually what happens with the elementary school. Especially because, like, the graduation time isn't crazy. Though I do have to say, I have in other saves seen 6 months, compared to the 11 here. As we're seeing over here, we're seeing one building with 10 months, and the other with 11. So I do think that another high school is going to be needed. Just because I don't want to like directly invest too much in either, I think that it might actually make sense to have one here that can feed into all 3 areas. With that said, I am going to need a loan to finance it. Also, I'm not sure how I feel about placing a high school right on this main road. So I do think I'll probably take a offshoot of the road here. Probably just place it on that. This should serve us well enough in the meantime. Also, because I don't really want to give like dedicated services to this area quite yet, because it doesn't really have an income of its own, I will just add it to our existing Washington Heights, though it'll probably break off and take the farmland too. Talking about districts, burglary is happening, and there isn't a solution, but I realize if I just add the incineration plant to be a part of that zone, it shouldn't be an issue. This is again a temporary fix until we have like more of a dedicated industrial area over here. As medium density continues to grow, I want to check out the traffic. And again, dude, like how do you end up in a parking lot of a building? I'm absolutely just baffled. Anyways, we are going to zone in a few more medium density buildings. Also, I am seeing more and more people do want to turn right and go straight, although, again, a lot of them want to turn right. So, to make this safer and just overall better, I am going to reduce this back down to a 4-lane road and re-add my slip lane. Again, we can get rid of right turns here. Please do not crash again like the last time I did this. It seems like that was actually mostly problem solved. Something else I'm noticing though is that the backup of traffic here is immense. That's actually got 3 trams waiting, all of them at their max capacity. Which does actually bring me to the trams again, and I do think that one more tram is needed, maxing out how many trams we can use. Another thing I'm seeing is there's absolutely no reason for this traffic, for the traffic light or the crosswalks. Now I can't fit a roundabout, which I don't even think would be the solution, but I think again time is just going to be the solution. With that said, we do have more high density demand, meaning we can build another building here. Business demand is shooting up, which means that I should probably look into building more high density businesses. I'm not sure why, but I'm not able to actually zone in that tile, so for now I will get rid of this building. Now I do have a little gap here that I am unable to like place like a really good sized business. And I do kind of want to put a park there, but I'm not sure like how I would do that. Especially because there is another park right there. With that said, our parks aren't looking super great as far as their condition. But I don't think that means we have to build another park maintenance depot quite yet. Medium density demand is climbing still, and we have a whole lot of space to build it. Surprisingly, all of that space was used. I do just want to check on this tram line too, and we can see easily every tram is being used to its fullest extent. So, more trams are needed. But that's actually, I believe, the end of our trams, and we do not have any more, which means we have to invest in this garage extension, giving us many more trams and actually adding 12 jobs, which is pretty cool. I do want to see if I can build any more businesses, but it doesn't really seem like I can, except for this one spot here. But I dedicated that to be a gas station, and we should actually check if we have gas station demand, and we do, which means we should build it now. Though it's not building as a gas station, and it is actually staying as a conventional business. Doesn't seem like I'm able to get it to be a gas station, which is unfortunate. Something else I want to do is quickly just plop down a mailbox over here and check on our high school. And it seems like there are, I hope, enough spaces for people to go to school. There is a growing traffic jam here from people moving into our now 2 buildings over here. Surprisingly, though, there's not traffic coming from this direction, even though you'd think there would be. Again, medium density demand is back, and I think we should build more buildings. I'm really surprised at how much demand there really has been for medium density. With that said, I do want to place down 2 mailboxes. I do also want to place a mailbox right around here. I think our postal service coverage is good, and I don't think there should be any other issues, except there are a few orange buildings here. So I think if we add another mailbox, that should be the problem solved. Now again, traffic is kind of backing up, but it is still flowing, so I don't think it's too big of an issue. Again, medium density demand is sprouting out of nowhere. With that said though, I am going to stop zoning this part just because it's getting a little close to the trams and I want to have some trees there. Right now though, I'm not sure what I can really do, except maybe use a few development points to get a college. Now we are soon going to reach another milestone which will actually allow us to build high density offices. The college is currently out of our budget, but we could take out a loan to be able to afford it. But then really the question becomes, where am I going to put it? I think that putting it in the center, especially near a tram station, is going to be super beneficial. The problem is though, this tram station is already under immense pressure because people really use this station particularly a lot. I obviously can't place it here because this is where homes are going to be, but I think if I could, maybe we could put it right here, but there is not enough space. Back here there isn't enough space, and I think the only real place I could put it is right here, or here. I think that would also make sense because there is high density homes, and college students do actually use those and prefer them to other types of homes. So I think I will actually take out a loan and build a little college campus. I did unlock a milestone and I accidentally got rid of it, but that was milestone 10. And it gave us a larger loan limit and unlocked high density offices, and it also gave us policy. What I do immediately want to do is build a college library, as I think it'll be pretty beneficial. And I do think it makes a bit of sense to have one, especially because there is a high school, and maybe, I don't know, they could share books. Something I do want to mention is that there are no actual public libraries in City Skylines 2, at least. There was in the original game, but they seem to just, not have added them, and I'm not sure if there's an actual reason why. With that said, though, we can see that already 204 people have applied, and the graduation time is pretty low. Now, hopefully this will incentivize more, offices and office demand, even though we currently don't have any, but we have the ability to build these huge offices. Again, medium density demand is here, and it is not going anywhere. Now, something I did kind of forget to do was probably place a pass-through park in the middle, which is a bit of an oversight by me. But it's not the end of the world, because we can still place regular parks. That should be plenty of park availability, but I actually am not sure I want to place it here. And I think we can instead place it closer here, because especially over towards this direction, there is a decent amount of space between the highway and homes, and there's arguably less space here. So we can actually build a few medium density homes along here. That has demand gone away, though I would not be shocked if it came right back. Now, I'm not sure if I want to, do something, and I'm not sure if it would make sense, but I'm considering adding, a, bus line that would just kind of go here, but at the same time, I feel like this is a perfectly walkable distance to get to the tram station, especially because this tram also connects up to the other part of our city. If you have an idea of what I could do alternately, maybe let me know, but I think I'll leave it for now. Again, medium density demand is growing, and it is not stopping. I really just don't understand the reason. I'm never gonna want two smaller buildings. It's never gonna be a thing. Over here we can see that the zoning kind of gets cracked up a little bit, and we won't actually be able to place a super wide unit. So I am gonna temporarily destroy this road and expand it using only these three settings. But I am going to turn this off before I connect it up. Now we should be able to build a medium density building without any problems. This kind of seems stupid to me how there's three separate things here. But I also think it's kind of cool, and maybe we could build a few high density but smaller buildings here. And I think that's actually what we'll opt for, because it would, I think, kind of look cool if you're just looking at it from here. With that said though, medium density demand is back, and we have run out of space in this area. Now, I don't particularly love the idea of placing medium density buildings here, because I kind of want to place the high-rise apartment buildings. I'm not sure where else we could really build medium density. I guess we could continue along the path we have gone before, and build it down over here. Especially since we did recently expand this. I did also place a park down here, just to keep walking times fair. Now, something else I want to look into is the possibility of putting a secondary tram line or bus line that goes between here and here. But we'll probably just look into that in the future once we get more people who live in this area. As we can see, more people have attended our college, and that's going to be very important to see office demand, as it is stimulated by having educated people, which is high-skilled labor. Now, the problem seems to be that there's actually unoccupied buildings, which we can see one here. You know, I was really expecting to have to say here a few times for where there were unoccupied buildings. It seems like there's only, one. And I don't even know if I can find it again. With that said, I can only find one building that isn't profitable. And that's only one, and that's not by actually a huge margin when considering how much their income is. Nonetheless, office demand isn't here, and is probably not going to be here for a while. At this point, I think we did achieve a lot in this video, as we fixed the major traffic issue here, inherently fixing a lot of the problems in this part of the city. We added a little bit of a new area to the city, and we grew this part of the city. Anyways, that's the end of this video, and I really want to thank you for watching through the whole thing. It really means a lot. In the meantime, if you have any questions or suggestions, please leave them down below, and have yourself a great day.